Your angels are trying to reach you, and they're not whispering, they're shouting. This message is not to scare you, but to prepare you. Something unexpected is approaching, and it may come knocking at your own front door tonight. You weren't drawn to this video by mistake. There is a spiritual warning being delivered straight from the angelic realm. They've seen what's ahead, and they want to protect you. Don't ignore the nudge in your spirit. Your angels are watching, waiting, and ready to speak. Will you listen before it's too late? 111. A divine spark has been ignited in your spirit. This is not a coincidence. It's confirmation that your thoughts, prayers, and desires are aligning with God's timing. Every step you take in faith is building the reality you've been praying for. Keep your thoughts pure and your heart open. Type 1111 to align with divine creation. 222. Balance is being restored. What was once chaotic is now coming into divine order. God is weaving peace, stability, and grace into your life in a way that will surprise you. Stay patient and trust the process. Your foundation is being divinely rebuilt. Type 2222 to receive harmony. 333. You are surrounded by divine guides. Ascended masters and heavenly support are helping you grow, heal, and expand. The path ahead is being illuminated for you. Don't dim your light. Your spiritual gifts are needed now. Type 3333 to affirm your divine support. 444. You are safe, protected, and surrounded by angels. This number is a powerful sign that you are being guided through every transition. Don't fear the unknown. God has already gone ahead of you to prepare the way. Type 4444 to walk boldly. 555. Major change is unfolding. What you've prayed for is coming, but it may not look like what you expected. Let go of the old. Embrace the shift. You're being divinely repositioned for something far greater. Type 5555 to welcome transformation. 666. You are being invited to shift your perspective. It's not about fear, it's about focus. Refocus your thoughts on truth, abundance, and peace. Heaven is helping you correct course and realign with your higher self. Type 6666 to reclaim spiritual clarity. 777. Spiritual upgrades are being poured into your life. The wisdom you carry is opening doors that no man can shut. Keep walking in truth. The divine is revealing mysteries and giving you discernment to move wisely. Type 7777 to access your next level. 888. Abundance is in motion. Financial blessings, new connections, and unexpected breakthroughs are coming. Heaven has heard your faith-filled declarations. Stay aligned and expect overflow. Type 8888 to receive prosperity. 999. It's time to let go. You've outgrown certain cycles, habits, and relationships. Completion is necessary for the new to be born. Trust that the ending is the beginning of something blessed. Type 9999 to surrender to the new. 1010. You are stepping into alignment with divine timing. New beginnings are forming, and God is setting the stage for miraculous moves. Stay focused. This is your confirmation that you're on the right path. Type 101010 to say yes to alignment. 1212. A divine doorway is opening. Opportunities long delayed are returning with favor. Your dreams are being refreshed and given new life. Heaven is aligning things behind the scenes. Type 121212 to walk through your open door. 1313. This is your comeback season. What was meant to break you is now blessing you. God is rewriting your story with resilience, grace, and glory. Keep building, you are being rewarded. Type 131313 to affirm your rise. 1414. Divine order is unfolding. You're being asked to trust what you cannot see. The foundation is solid, and your prayers have activated miracles. Keep believing, it's working. Type 141414 to trust divine order. 1515. A refreshing wave of change is coming. Old pain is being cleared, and new joy is being released. You're not behind. You're right on time. Prepare to be restored. Type 151515 to receive your renewal. 1616. Heaven is upgrading your environment. Toxic patterns are being broken. Your home, heart, and mind are being cleansed. Peace is returning. Type 161616 to receive divine peace. 1717. You are being awakened to deeper purpose. Your gifts, voice, and presence are needed. This is your time to shine. You carry wisdom and healing for others. Type 171717 to walk in your purpose. 1818. Doors of financial freedom are opening. Resources, opportunities, and divine connections are being released. Stay diligent, God is bringing the increase. Type 181818 to declare abundance. 1919. Cycles are closing, but don't fear the ending. You are stepping into a new chapter filled with clarity and confidence. Trust what's unfolding. Type 191919 to embrace the new season. 2020. God is granting you vision. You're being given the clarity you asked for. The fog is lifting. You will see things clearly and act wisely. Type 202020 to align with divine vision. 2121. What you planted in faith is blooming. You didn't give up, and now the harvest is near. Keep nurturing the dream, heaven is backing you. Type 212121 to welcome your harvest. 2222. You are divinely aligned with the right people, places, and timing. Everything is connecting. Watch how it unfolds. God's favor is heavy on your life. Type 22222 to affirm perfect alignment. 2323. You are not alone in this. Angels are walking beside you, defending you, guiding you, and opening doors you didn't even knock on. Type 232323 to walk in assurance. 2424. Divine justice is being served. What was unfair will be reversed. God is restoring what was lost and returning it multiplied. Type 242424 to claim divine justice. 2525. You are crossing a spiritual threshold. What's ahead is sacred, new, and powerful. Leave the old behind. Step into the light. Type 252525 to enter your divine upgrade. 2626. Provision is being released. You don't have to strive. Trust and receive. Everything you need is already flowing toward you. Type 262626 to affirm divine supply. 2727. Expect miracles. Unexplainable blessings are on the way. God is moving in ways that will leave you in awe. Keep expecting the impossible. Type 272727 to receive your miracle. 2828. You are in a divine exchange. As you let go of fear, doubt, and old stories, God is giving you peace, joy, and open doors. Type 282828 to accept your divine exchange. 2929. This is a sacred pause. Don't rush. God is revealing things you couldn't see before. Clarity and purpose are being renewed in this stillness. Type 292929 to embrace the pause. 3030. Your life is a light. Don't hide it. Your journey, though not perfect, is holy and powerful. Let God use you right where you are. Type 303030 to affirm your calling. 3131. Elevation is here. You are being raised above what tried to hold you down. God is lifting you to new levels, spiritually and physically. Type 313131 to rise in divine strength. You asked for a miracle, and now you're standing in the middle of a mess. You prayed for purpose, and now it feels like you've lost your footing. You asked God to make you stronger, and suddenly, everything that gave you security is shaking. But let me tell you something, God didn't ignore you. He positioned you. You're not in a delay, you're in the arena of revelation. This is where God shows up not as an accessory to your comfort, but as your deliverer. This is where He flexes His might, not because you deserve it, but because He's good and faithful to the end. Think about it. Israel didn't see the Red Sea part until Pharaoh's army was at their back. Daniel didn't witness God shut the mouths of lions until he was thrown into the den. The 3 Hebrew boys didn't experience the presence of the 4th man until they were tossed into the fire. Every impossible setup in the Bible became a stage for God's supernatural power. You're not in trouble, you're in the middle of a testimony in progress. God didn't bring you this far to leave you now. He's about to show you exactly why He allowed this situation. He's about to make sense of what looked like senseless suffering. But He has to strip away everything that could be mistaken as your source so that when He shows up, you'll know it was Him and only Him. There are victories you can chalk up to skill, timing, or people helping you. But there are certain wins in life that will have people looking at you and saying, only God could have done that. And that's where He wants to take you. That's why the fire got hotter. That's why the door slammed shut. That's why your options ran out. God is not punishing you, He's purifying your testimony. He's allowing the conditions that require Him and Him alone. When you come through this, and you won't say, look at what I did. You'll say, if it had not been for the Lord who was on my side. That's the power of the only God moment. You're about to step into it. But it often requires walking through the wilderness of no explanation, where prayers seem unanswered, logic is missing, and you're clinging to hope with trembling hands. Yet it is there, in the stillness, in the stretch, that the Spirit of God whispers, this is where I make myself known. God often disguises transition as trouble. You think you're being punished, but you're being prepared. You think you're losing, but you're being launched. You think it's the end, but it's the birthing of something new. Remember, God doesn't rescue what He plans to resurrect. So if it feels like everything is falling apart, maybe it's because God is allowing it, not to hurt you, but to reveal Himself in a brand new way. Maybe you're about to know Him as provider not because you read about it, but because you had to rely on Him when you had nothing left. Maybe you're about to encounter Him as healer not because someone else testified about it, but because your back was against the wall and only God could bring you out. This is a sacred transition. It looks like loss, but it's actually leverage. God didn't change when the situation did. He didn't change when the pressure came. He's still the same God who parted seas, shut lions' mouths, opened wombs, healed the broken, fed thousands, walked on water, and rose from the dead. He's not pacing the floor of heaven wondering what to do about your circumstances. He's not surprised by what caught you off guard. He allowed it because He already wrote the end of the story. You serve a God who finishes things before they even begin. So while you're panicking about the unknown, He's standing in your future, holding the very thing you've been praying for. But before he releases it, he's asking, will you trust me in the middle? When God sets up a showdown, he doesn't do it to entertain. He does it to reveal. Just like Elijah on Mount Carmel, sometimes God lets things escalate so that when fire falls, nobody will question where it came from. God will let the prophets of Baal shout. He'll let people mock. He'll let everything look like it's going against you. But then, in his time, on his altar, he'll send fire from heaven, and every eye will see, the Lord, he is God. You've been analyzing what God has already resolved. You've been trying to fix what's already in his hands. And while you love him, trust him, and seek him, part of your heart still wants control. Not because you don't believe in God, but because life has taught you that sometimes things fall apart when you're not paying attention. So you overthink. You overplan. You overfunction. And it's exhausting you. But now, God is calling you back to the place of rest. Not passivity. Not denial. But sacred surrender. A deep, holy kind of trust. One that doesn't wait for the answer to believe in the goodness of the one who's already working behind the scenes. Come back to the stillness. Come back to the presence of the one who calms storms not by shouting, but by whispering, "Peace, be still." God is not overwhelmed. Heaven is not shaken. The plan hasn't changed. What you think is falling apart is actually falling into place. The enemy has been trying to wear you down by pulling your thoughts in every direction. But God is pulling you back into focus. You're not being punished. You're being protected. And the very peace that seems out of reach is already within you, because the Prince of Peace himself lives within you. You've been living like you have to carry everything. You don't. You were never built to bear the weight of the whole story. That's God's job. You're not God. And that's the best news you'll hear all day. Release the assumption that if it doesn't happen your way, it's not going to be good. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You're just in a moment of divine preparation where God is inviting you to take your hands off the wheel and trust that He has not stopped driving you forward. The delays didn't change the promise. The silence didn't cancel the covenant. The detours didn't reroute your destiny. God is still God. Still good. Still sovereign. Still working even when your eyes can't see it and your heart can't feel it. This season might feel quiet. But quiet doesn't mean absence. It means construction. He's building what you've been praying for. But before He gives you the blessing, He's making sure you're rooted enough in peace to receive it. Because without peace, even the answered prayer will overwhelm you. Without peace, you'll sabotage what God sends. Without peace, your heart will panic when it was meant to praise. So before God gives you the thing, He gives you Him. Before the answer, He gives you His presence. Before the solution, He gives you His stillness. Because what you really need isn't just for the situation to change, it's for your spirit to return to rest. For your soul to remember that God is not like man. He does not lie. He does not tease. He does not forget. He is not late. Everything He said, He still means. Everything He promised, He still plans to fulfill. But right now, He's asking you to do something bold. Something that feels countercultural. Something that doesn't look like progress, but actually is. He's asking you to stop replaying the moment that broke you and start remembering the God who held you. He's asking you to put the phone down, quiet the noise, silence the opinions, and sit with Him again. Not for 5 minutes. not for Instagram-worthy prayer time, but until your thoughts slow down, until your spirit softens, until you remember who you are in Him. Because that's what's really been missing. And when that happens, even the blessings feel like burdens. Even the opportunities feel like opposition. Even the joy feels like a job. But God, He never intended for you to live that way. He never intended for your thoughts to spiral and your peace to disappear the moment something went wrong. So He's calling you back to something ancient, something sacred, something the modern world has made rare, trusting Him with every detail. But you can feel peace. Because peace isn't found in control, it's found in communion. This isn't about ignoring your problems. It's about inviting God into them so you can see them from His perspective. You've been trying to carry the mountain, but God only asked you to speak to it. You've been trying to win the battle with your own strength, but God already gave you the victory through His. This isn't your fight to finish. It's His. And the moment you return to that truth, the moment you realign your thoughts with His promises, the stress begins to melt. The pressure begins to lift. The confusion begins to clear. Because peace isn't the absence of trouble, it's the presence of Jesus. And Jesus is here. Not tomorrow. Not when everything's fixed. Not when life looks like you imagined. With you. Beside you. Within you. And He's saying, give it to me. You've carried it long enough. You let go, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because you've seen what happens when you try to do it your way. And now you're ready to see what happens when you let Him be God again. He's still speaking in the quiet. Still healing the parts of you that nobody sees. Still orchestrating miracles you haven't imagined. But it starts with one thing, your yes. Your yes to stop stressing over what's already in His hands. Your yes to step away from the noise and into His nearness. Your yes to believe that He's working, even when your emotions try to convince you otherwise. This is a moment to rest in God's power and let Him do what only He can do. And when you return to that place, when your thoughts realign, your spirit settles, and your heart bows, you've been thinking too much again, haven't you? Wrestling with the same situation over and over in your mind. Worrying about how it's going to work out. Playing out conversations, outcomes, delays. Wondering if things will ever shift. But here's the truth, what you're overthinking, God is already overseeing. He saw this moment before it ever reached you. The burden you keep rehearsing in your mind is one He already has a plan to resolve. He is not surprised by what you're going through. He's not thrown off course by the things that feel too heavy for you. He's not pacing the floors of heaven, worried about how it will all come together. He is seated, enthroned in peace, because the end has already been written. The outcome is already secure. Your heart is tired because your mind has wandered too far from Him. You've drifted from the still waters and green pastures of His peace into the wilderness of overanalysis. That's why you're exhausted. That's why your spirit feels overwhelmed. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you've been trying to carry what's no longer yours to hold. You're trying to do God's job with human hands. But God is calling you back. Back to stillness. Back to surrender. Back to the secret place where His presence is greater than your pressure. He's not asking you to be perfect, He's inviting you to be present with Him. He's not demanding your solution, He's desiring your surrender. Peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of God in the middle of them. Peace is not found in knowing what's coming next. Peace is found in knowing who is already in your tomorrow. You've been too hard on yourself. You think that because you don't see it yet, it means it's not working. You think that because doors haven't opened, it means you've done something wrong. But the silence is not punishment. The delay is not denial. It's divine timing in progress. Heaven's schedule doesn't run on your panic. It runs on God's eternal plan. God is not slow, He's strategic. And the reason some things haven't unfolded yet is because He's preparing something bigger than you expected. The promise is maturing. The path is still unfolding. The provision is in motion. In the waiting, He's stretching your faith, not to break you, but to build you. Every moment you choose to trust instead of worry is a seed being sown into your destiny. Every time you say, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you, the heavens respond. Your honesty is powerful. God isn't looking for fake strength. He's moved by surrendered hearts. You don't have to perform to be loved. You don't have to pretend to be okay. You don't have to hold it all together when it feels like things are falling apart. Jesus is close to the brokenhearted. He doesn't run from your weakness, He runs toward it. You've been praying prayers you haven't told anyone about. Whispered words in tea. There were moments you couldn't explain, moments when the weight felt unbearable, when the pain felt louder than the promise, when you couldn't even find the words to pray. Your soul cried out in silence. And though no one else heard you, God did. He was there. In the confusion, in the heartbreak, in the deep ache of being misunderstood, overlooked, or left behind, He never moved. You may have felt abandoned, but you were never alone. You may have been in the fire, but you were never consumed. You may have lost some things, but you never lost His presence. There's a reason you are still here. There's a reason you didn't break in the places that should have destroyed you. There's a reason the pain didn't define you and the grief didn't consume you. God's hand held you steady when everything else gave way. Not everyone will understand what you had to walk through. They may see your smile now, but they don't know the nights you wept through. They may admire your strength, but they don't know the weakness you laid bare before God when no one was watching. They may celebrate your resilience, but only you and God know the depth of the warfare you faced behind closed doors. You didn't just make it. You were carried. You didn't have the strength to hold yourself together, but God did. You didn't have the words to fix the situation, but heaven was speaking over you all along. When your hope wore thin, the Spirit interceded with groans deeper than language. When your mind felt like it was unraveling, God wrapped His peace around you like a warm covering in the cold. You are not here by accident. You are here because He refused to let you go. There is a deep shift happening in your life, and it's not just external. It's internal. It's spiritual. It's a holy recalibration of identity, focus, and purpose. The wilderness tried to lie to you, tried to tell you that you missed it, lost it, or were forgotten, but heaven has been working behind the scenes this entire time. What you thought was a detour was actually preparation. What you thought was punishment was actually protection. What felt like delay was actually God's mercy, preserving you for the right time, the right people, the right positioning. Yes, you've cried. Yes, you've questioned. Yes, you've wondered if you were enough, if you were heard, if you were seen. But through it all, God kept whispering, I am here. I am with you. I am not done. There's a weight of glory forming in the places where you used to feel broken. There's a depth of wisdom rising from the ashes of your confusion. There's a new authority on your voice, forged through nights of wrestling and mornings of barely rising. God was not looking for your perfection. He was simply waiting for your surrender. And even when you didn't feel strong enough to fully surrender, He still held you, because He saw the desire of your heart even in the midst of your pain. That's who He is. Not a harsh judge, but a loving Father. A rescuer. A healer. A lifter of heads. A restorer of broken places. You see now, don't you? Not everything, but more than before. You see how that closed door, that season of silence wasn't the end. It was a hidden beginning. A divine setup. A necessary pause that prepared you for this release. You carry an authority you didn't have before, not because of titles or platforms, but because you know the one who brought you through. You know what it is to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and come out without smelling like smoke. You know what it is to be emptied and still be called chosen. You know what it means to be kept. Not to make you famous, but to make Him known through your life. He's putting the pen back in your hand. He's restoring the rhythm of your creativity. He's breathing new vision into the dry places. He's unlocking things in you that had been lying dormant, not because you weren't capable, but because the season required stillness first. Everything is shifting now. Not by force, but by divine flow. You won't have to chase what God has commanded to find you. You won't have to strive for what grace has already secured. You won't have to beg for what is already appointed to your name. There is a reintroduction happening. Not to who you used to be, but to who God has refined you to become. A version of you that is rooted in truth, anchored in faith, and surrounded by divine backing. This is the unveiling of a healed you. A joyful you. A powerful, Spirit-led, bold, obedient, secure you. You no longer have to prove anything to anyone. God saw you in the fire. God approved you in the secret place. God anointed you in the silence. And now, He is setting you in the places that align with His purpose over your life. Let the past go. Not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer holds you. Let the shame fall away. Not because you were perfect, but because you've been forgiven, restored, and cleansed. Let the old labels dissolve. You are not who people said you were in their limited understanding. You are who God says you are, righteous, called, appointed, worthy, and dearly loved. And now, watch what He does next. Watch how He restores relationships with honor. Watch how He breathes on your gifts. Watch how He brings resources to your hands. Watch how He vindicates you without you needing to fight. Watch how He plants you where your roots can grow deep and your fruit can multiply. You didn't come this far to quit. You didn't endure that storm just to survive. You are stepping into the fulfillment of promises that have been hovering over your life for years. Not all at once, but surely. Not rushed, but with holy precision. And as you walk forward, don't forget to pause often, not just to ask for more, but to say thank you. Thank you for holding me. Thank you for carrying me. Thank you for doing what I didn't have the strength to do. Thank you for healing places I never thought could be whole again. Thank you for protecting me from what I thought I wanted. Thank you for preparing me for what is now on the way. This is your moment to breathe. To rest in the knowing that you are not behind. That you didn't miss it. That God is still going to do everything He promised, and more. You are not just being restored. You are being positioned. Life had shifted, people changed, and everything familiar seemed to fall apart. But God didn't leave you buried in the rubble. He stood with you, even when it felt like the ground beneath your feet gave way. What looked like collapse was actually divine construction. What was falling apart wasn't meant to remain. What you were losing wasn't your identity, it was the false security that couldn't sustain you in the new season. You weren't being punished, you were being purified. It felt like fire, because it was. But not a fire to destroy you, a fire to refine you. God allowed certain things to be removed because they were not built on truth. You thought you needed that relationship, that approval, that open door. But God saw what you couldn't see. What looked like a blessing was really blocking your breakthrough. So He removed it. And it hurt. But now, you're about to understand the pain differently. You're about to look back and see not just the loss, but the launch. Because something has shifted in the spirit. You're not just being restored, you're being reconstructed. You are no longer trying to rebuild your life around what was. You are now building upon who God has revealed Himself to be in the fire. No one else may understand how deeply you've changed, but God does. You don't even fully have the words for it yet, but there's something different in your heart, in your discernment, in your priorities. The shaking made you sober. The storm made you still. The season of loss made you see what really mattered. And now, He's breathing on the ashes. He's speaking to the ruins. He's commanding the dead places to live again. You may have thought it was over, but heaven just declared, begin again. Not with the same fear. Not with the same brokenness. Not with the same old patterns. But with fresh clarity. With a renewed mind. With a healed heart. God is bringing you out of the place of merely surviving and into a place where you will build, flourish, and establish. You are not starting from scratch. You are starting from strength. Because now you've seen what you can survive. Now you know what to release. Now you've tasted what it means to be held by grace when nothing else makes sense. And the best part? You don't have to figure it all out. You just have to follow Him. He's already gone before you. He's laid out the path. He's aligning resources, instructions, divine connections, and open doors. What you're building now won't fall apart like what came before. This will have foundation. This will have fruit. This will be blessed. God is healing your relationship with time. You are no longer rushing. No longer comparing. No longer living with the ache of I should be further by now. You're no longer chasing what's not yours. You're walking in sync with what is. You're starting to see that divine delay wasn't divine denial. It was God's mercy, sparing you from construction on a cracked foundation. But now you're building with God. And it changes everything. He's not just rebuilding your life. He's rebuilding you. From the inside out. Rebuilding your hope. Rebuilding your joy. Rebuilding your confidence. Rebuilding your relationship with Him. This is the season where He shows you that the best parts of your story weren't lost, they were just waiting for the right timing. And now, the timing is being fulfilled. You're going to walk into things that feel like home to your spirit. You're going to enter spaces where your authenticity is not only welcomed, but needed. You're going to be used by God, not in spite of what you've gone through, but because of it. What once embarrassed you will empower others. What once confused you will now be the testimony that leads someone else out. What once broke you will now become the wisdom that builds others up. This is not the end. This is not the afterthought. This is the appointed time. So don't shrink. Don't apologize for surviving. Don't minimize what God did in the dark just because others didn't see it. You were rebuilt for this. And what you carry now isn't just hope, it's evidence. You are walking proof that grace sustains, mercy restores, and God still writes the most beautiful endings after the ugliest chapters. And He's not finished yet.